Hello my oranges. Today we have two stories. First story. Title. I'm 29F, divorcing my husband, 28M, for suggesting an open marriage. My husband and I have been together for 9 years, married for 7 of them, in what began as a somewhat unconventional union. We married young, him at 21 and me at 20, not out of the blue but rather out of necessity. We were trying to secure custody of his 10-year-old half-sister after their mother passed away unexpectedly. Although this detail might seem tangential, it really sets the foundation for understanding the depth of commitment and sacrifice that characterized our relationship from its early stages. We didn't have children of our own, but we dedicated ourselves wholeheartedly to raising his sister, a task that demanded a lot from both of us personally and as a couple. Her sister grew up and last year, at 17, she moved out to live with a more financially stable aunt. This shift left us on our own for the first time in our married life, presenting us with a new dynamic in our home. Over the past year of what felt like newfound solitude, both of us flourished. It seemed as though our relationship also blossomed during this period. We rarely fought, arguments were few, and we became quite adept at resolving conflicts and making amends when necessary. Our connection felt predominantly healthy. We nurtured our bond through small but significant gestures. I received flowers no fewer than 10 times a year, and we indulged in little vacations that kept our spirits high. There was a brief period where the spark between us seemed to wane slightly, but it felt like a natural ebb within the longevity of our relationship, something not out of the ordinary for any long-term couple. However, as autumn rolled in this year, a palpable change came over my husband. He seemed enveloped by a deep sadness, which wasn't entirely unexpected. It coincided with the anniversary of his parents' deaths, events that had occurred separately but traumatically close in time. The holiday season always casts a long shadow over him due to these memories, and I braced myself each year to provide him with the support he needed. His mental health was something I never took lightly, especially knowing that he had grappled with severe depression and had once planned a suicide attempt due to his familial issues before we met. This October, however, he brought up a topic that caught me completely off guard. During a serious and somber discussion, he proposed that we consider opening up our relationship. My initial reaction was a mix of shock and confusion, a sinking feeling in my stomach as I listened to him lay out a set of rules for this new arrangement, without providing any real explanation for his sudden interest in such a drastic change. He suggested I be the first to find a new partner before he would do the same. When pressed for his reasons, he fumbled with his words, unable to articulate his thoughts clearly, which only added to my distress. I questioned whether he had someone in mind already, which he denied. That night ended with my emotions boiling over in a confrontation that left me sleeping on the couch, feeling more alone than ever. The following day, with my husband at work and the house to myself, I wept as I contemplated the implications of his proposal. It became clear to me that suggesting an open marriage was not just a boundary crossed but a boundary shattered. By the time he returned home, ready to discuss things further, I had already begun moving his belongings into what used to be his sister's room, now a spare room. Our conversation that evening was revealing. He admitted that he was dissatisfied with our sex life, felt we had grown apart since his sister moved out, and lamented the experiences he missed out on in his youth, particularly exploring his sexuality and various kinks. He described his vision of an open relationship not merely as casual encounters but as a deeper polyamorous arrangement, where emotional connections would be as significant as physical ones. This broke my heart completely. I expressed how deeply this hurt me, how inadequate and replaceable it made me feel. Despite his assurances that he didn't want to lose me, his proposal seemed to be a way to have security with me while seeking fulfillment elsewhere. His stark ultimatum, open marriage or nothing, made it clear that our views on fidelity and commitment had irreversibly diverged. I made the painful decision to choose nothing. Within a week, I filed for divorce. His reaction was a mixture of anger and disbelief, hurt that I could decisively end our marriage so quickly. But for me, it was about self-respect and refusing to be an afterthought in my own marriage. Now, as we navigate the complexities of divorcing while still living together, the atmosphere is charged with tension. He oscillates between hostility and a disconcerting kind of vulnerability, asking for personal details about my life in one breath and issuing hurtful remarks in the next. Amidst this turmoil, I find myself questioning my decisions. Did I act too hastily in filing for divorce? Should I have considered marriage counseling, or was my instinct, that our marriage had irrevocably changed, the correct one? Despite everything, I still care deeply for him, yet I am tormented by the need to protect my own emotional well-being. How do I manage these conflicting feelings while still sharing a space with him? And importantly, how do I cope with the sense of betrayal and navigate a path forward? Update. I'm deeply grateful for all the support I've received from this community. As for an update on my situation, it's been a whirlwind of emotion and change. It's now been over the required 90 days since I initially filed for divorce, and tomorrow, I'll be going to the courthouse to file the remaining paperwork. Thankfully, the divorce was uncontested, we agreed on the division of assets smoothly, and he didn't contest my taking our 2 cats, who are particularly attached to me. I've recently moved into a small house with the cats, marking a new beginning for myself. Although this transition represents a fresh start, the emotional toll of the past few months has been immense. Living with my soon-to-be ex-husband during the divorce process was a roller coaster of emotions. His behavior fluctuated wildly. He would oscillate between insulting me and acting as if nothing had changed, sharing jokes and calling me frequently. This left me feeling emotionally confused and drained, a state I've come to describe as emotional whiplash. One incident that stands out during this period involved him lashing out over the disarray in the kitchen as I was packing and preparing to move. His temper flared, and he began to throw things around, which was both shocking and hurtful. On another occasion, he texted me out of the blue, probing about my lack of interest in his activities, and even sheepishly revisited the topic of the open marriage, asking if I'd reconsider our relationship if he dropped the demand. I had to firmly remind him that we were beyond the point of reconciliation, especially after his repeated threats of infidelity. Amid these challenges, I took steps to protect my health and peace of mind, including getting tested for STDs, which thankfully came back negative. I feel it's unlikely he was unfaithful, but he's embarrassed by the whole ordeal. Interestingly, he's requested that I tell people he cheated on me, rather than explaining the true reasons behind our divorce. I'm still deciding how to handle that request. As the final steps of our divorce are being completed, I've made it clear to him that I intend to go no contact. This decision wasn't made lightly but is necessary for my own healing. He views this as vindictive, but after everything that has happened, maintaining distance is crucial for regaining my self-respect and peace. I've taken practical measures like separating our finances, hiding my new address, blocking him on social media, and I plan to change my phone number once everything is finalized. While I still harbor feelings of love for him, I know he doesn't deserve them. Cutting contact isn't about punishment, it's about protecting myself from further emotional harm and preventing any backsliding into a relationship that's clearly over. I'm not looking to start another relationship anytime soon. Instead, I'm focusing on rebuilding my confidence and fostering a healthier mindset. Counseling is on my agenda as I settle into my new home and find the mental space to process everything. This period has been validating in many ways, especially with the support of friends and even some of his own friends, who have acknowledged the gravity of his mistake in pushing for an open marriage. It's a bittersweet feeling, knowing I made the right decision but grieving what could have been if circumstances were different. He once mentioned that 99% of open marriages fail because they open due to existing issues, arguing that ours would have succeeded because of our strong foundation. However, what he proposed wasn't truly an open marriage but a form of complex polyamory that I wasn't comfortable with. His focus remained on convincing me rather than understanding my perspective. Now, I'm giving him the freedom to find what he's looking for, while I take steps back to heal and rediscover my own happiness. As difficult as it is, sometimes stepping away is the most empowering decision one can make. I'm looking forward to the peace that comes with this new chapter, and I'm incredibly thankful for the support that has helped guide me to this point. Thank you all for being part of my journey. Second story. Wife is hiding my son's passport. As a tourist in Edmonton, I faced unexpected challenges that pushed me to make some tough decisions for the well-being of my son and myself. Our visas were set to expire in April, and amidst this, I discovered my wife was having an affair with another tourist. The situation escalated when I decided it was best to return to our home country with our son. However, my wife, complicating our departure, had hidden his passport. I managed to recover the passport from her bag after she returned from a date, a discovery that set in motion our journey back home. After consulting with my lawyers, I learned that as we were merely tourists returning to our permanent residence, I didn't need my wife's consent to travel back with my son. I prepared meticulously for our departure to ensure a smooth transition. I booked a nearby Airbnb where I purchased new luggage, clothes, toys, and essentials needed for our journey in our new start back home. This preparation took 3 days. On the day of our flight, under the guise of a day out at the mall, I took my son directly to the airport without my wife's knowledge. We flew from Edmonton to Los Angeles, where we were scheduled to catch our connecting flight home. Moments before boarding, I emailed my wife to inform her of our departure, reassuring her that she could visit our son once she resolved her affairs in Canada. Upon arriving in LA, however, the situation took another turn as LAPD officers detained us due to a notification from Canadian authorities. After explaining our circumstances and presenting our documents, including my son's birth certificate and our onward tickets, the officers, understanding our situation, allowed us to continue our journey. They even assisted us with our luggage, for which I am profoundly grateful. We are now safely back in our home country. My son is adjusting well, he is scheduled for his vaccinations next week and is enjoying the milder weather and outdoor play, a stark contrast to the harsh Canadian winter. As for my wife, she remains in Canada. She has only reached out once, with a lengthy message meant for our son to read when he is older. While her future plans are uncertain, I have made peace with the situation and am focusing on rebuilding our lives and filing for custody here. It's been a challenging period, filled with emotional and logistical hurdles. Yet, with the support of friends, family, and legal counsel, I feel confident that we've started a new chapter on firmer ground.